Well, hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and today should be a fun broadcast. We are talking about what happened to me last week. It, it was quite an experience, and it had lots of triggers in it, and that is why I thought that it would be a good idea for me to use it as a case study. So, for those of you, hi there, Linda. Did you get the birthday wish in the vlog that I did for Nicholas? I hope so. Hi there, Jody. Welcome. Yeah, I'm just checking to see whether Linda got the birthday wish that. Hi there, Beth. Welcome. Oh, and I specially put in a birthday wish for him. Oh, rats. You said to put it on YouTube, so I did. Anyway, at least he will know that I thought of him. All right, so we're going to quickly start with some of the art for the week. I had good news and bad news this week with art. This one was a fun little one I did, just testing some colors together. And I thought that turned, well, where's the shadow coming from? Hi, Kerry. So I thought this was, wonder where that shadow's coming from. Huh. Anyway, I thought that was quite cute. I like that one, which gave me lots of hope for what was to follow. And this is what followed it. Now, I want to tell you something. This went totally wrong. But you have to know that it went totally wrong. And I work on the principle that most people are not going to know that that was what went wrong. Would any of you like to see what it looked like before it went wrong? Because it was really pretty for a while. Oh, maybe I've taken it off my phone already. Yeah, I know, but you know what it started out like. So hang on a second. Let me see if I can find it quickly. Oops, don't want maps. No, I don't want maps. Go away. Hit the wrong button. But it was one of those things where, yeah, you see, you love it, but it wasn't what it was meant to be. Let me show you what it was meant. Oh no, I've taken it off my phone already. What a pity. I'll get it back on my phone probably for tonight or tomorrow, especially if Jody reminds me. And and then I will show you what it should have been. So that was that. What else did I do? Oh, I did two matching ones, and I liked one and didn't like the other. So which do you prefer? Do you prefer this one? That's one, or this is two. Not quite sure which way round that should be. So this is one, and this is two. It's like an eye exam, right? Yeah. So Kerry likes this one best. And other people like this one best, which goes to show why I should never judge my own art. Okay? Because this one I liked for some reason. And this one, I thought, actually, now that I look at it like that, it actually looks quite interesting, doesn't it? It goes to show, right? Don't ever judge your own art. All right, and I only did one. I did one other this week, but I'm going to paint over this one, I'm pretty sure, because it doesn't have enough in it. So I'm probably gonna just go straight. Yeah, Beth, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do 2 matching ones. I think they're close enough, right? What are you happy about this afternoon for? Kerry? And so before we actually get started, let's quickly go through. Well, that'll do it to you. For those of you watching the replay, she's seeing the man in her life. All right, so um, I'm not sure if Erin's going to come in, but if so, she'll give us the update. But I believe we're still waiting for the sugar levels come in. Lauren had a difficult time. What was it, yesterday or the day before? She, for no reason, suddenly started having a reaction to something that she ate, which was really strange. But the good news is they're busy preparing her to go home, which is so thoughts and prayers that it all goes well in that direction for her. Jody, you've had a tough week this week, and I'm going to let you update people to the extent that you want to. Kerry, how's your mood, other than the fact you're smiling from ear to ear? Is the other stuff over now, the trauma? And by the way, Kerry, you're going to see at the end of the program today. Hi, Says. Wow. All right. For those of you who don't know Says is one of my street teamers. Hi, Sophie. Says is one of my street teamers who really is like my Jody when I'm doing the Dancember thing. And I say my Jody because, she literally for almost a 24-hour period stuck by me, and just, I could delegate stuff to her. So I'd like to give her a big hug. It's great to see you. Yes, there were 2 videos. The first one bombed, apparently, Sophie. So Says, we missed you too, honey. So big hugs to you. It's always a pleasure and welcome. So, Kerry, you're going to hear about how I got affected the same way and what the results of that were. I will be talking about, I think, this evening. So what I want to be able to show you is, when something like that happens, why the ripple effect happens later. So, I don't know how to get. Can you get to? Is anybody else in the other place? Yeah, I don't know what happened. It bombed on the first one, so I nuked it and started again. Beth is here, and Beth, you've had a difficult week with headaches and stuff, so hopefully that you're beginning to feel a lot better. I have lots of good news about Beth coming up in a minute under the other section. Hi, Triona. Top of the evening to you. All right. So for those of you who haven't met, says introduce yourself as to where you live, give a rough age group, within a decade, and just so that everybody can know who you are. Just so that everybody that's just come in knows, Says always helps me on the Dancember Street team when I do the live broadcast. She helps keep me awake. And for that, I am very, very, very grateful. Amongst the rest of you as well, but Says did a great job. And by the way, Says, I think your ability to stay focused for that long really impressed me. There are not many people who can do that. Do you know what I mean? I knew once I got it delegated to you, I didn't have to worry about it. It's a bit like Jody. Once I know what's going on, Once okay, that's something Says can handle. Boom, I don't have to worry about it anymore. So thank you very much indeed. Hi, Ireland. Good to see you. I hope you're going to enjoy this broadcast, people. This is about my stuff. How many of you are looking forward to that? This is not about your stuff. This is about mine. But hopefully that some of you will relate to this, and that's why I've decided to do it. And just while I think about it, just some thoughts and prayers for the Brit. He's got some interviews coming up this week. So he did let us know. So I thought I'd just pass that on for those of you who know the Brit. It was Nicholas's birthday on Thursday. And so a very happy happy birthday to Nicholas. I think he was 27, right? That's Linda's son. And it's Roseanne's birthday today. And we have Jonas's birthday coming up on the 14th. So those are the birthdays that we've got coming up. Now, if you're new to the broadcast, Says, I'm not sure if you've been to a broadcast before, but if you want to be advised of the broadcast, a couple of things, press the bell here. There should be a bell somewhere, probably near my face. Make sure you are subscribed, obviously here, but also to my Facebook and Twitter, or at least one of the two, because whenever I'm doing a broadcast, I will put notifications up in both those places. All right, so that's got that little bit done, and now let's move on to the good stuff. So again, another round of applause. Beth is getting very close to winning her badge. This is her Dear Mama Sal badge for effort. This is her third week, and she managed just under 1,000 calories. But she's only 9 pounds away from her ideal goal weight, which is absolutely wonderful. But she was telling me today that she walked 5 miles today as well. So I think a big round of applause. For those of you who don't know, Beth was struggling with not eating nearly enough, and I challenged her to eat 1,000 calories a day. I will sign it for you, absolutely. Do you want it signed on the back? And do you want... I'll even say that it's for you, Beth. It's your achievement badge, all right? My writing's not too hot, but I think what I might do is I might put it in type and then sign underneath it. Just put the Mama Sal at the bottom. How's that? Oh, you've been getting too involved in other people's drama. Yes. All right, Kerry's an expert in that one now. All right. So for those of you who didn't hear last week, Sakura has started CrossFit. Chloe, for those of you who've met Chloe, decided that she liked that do it or don't do it, just don't give excuses. And she put that up on her her mirror last week. And Kim said she walked for 2 hours. And Ireland, how's the writers group going? Did you get to join? I've got a note about you here. That's a big step if you did it. No problem, Jody. I saw that. While we're waiting for Ireland to reply, Canada is going to start walking. That's what she told us. Jonas was going to try the aluminum foil in the dryer thing. By the way, if you haven't tried that, you will not believe how well it works. I haven't used Bounce since that day that I started using that. Literally roll up an aluminum ball full of foil, throw it in a sock, tie the sock, throw it in your dryer. You will be amazed. Sarah was busy house hunting. So that was awesome. Linda, how's the treadmill going? Okay, so what you're doing is you're doing the things you need to do to prepare yourself to be in a better space. Ireland, that's a great goal. And it's a great goal to do, to have the end goal, but this is what I need to do before I can do that. I have no problem with that at all. You'll be hearing about something like that that happened to me this week as well. All right, and Jody. Yes, Linda. Yes. The interesting thing is being on a treadmill or going for a walk, it's me time. You're quite right. Do you listen to audiobooks while you're doing it? That would be serious multitasking. And by the way, I found a site where you can download books for free. Uh, it's called Open Library. And it's run by a university, and they've just got just about every book you could ever want. So if any of you, I think they also have ebooks. I mean, what do you call it? Audiobooks. Gutenberg has a lot of stuff too. Okay, good to know. All right. So for those of you, and do they have audiobooks, Ireland? Yes, Triona, would you like Triona's busy saying that when they asked for her opinion, she couldn't hold she couldn't hold back on that one. By the way, would you like the words around that in case that you get caught with that one again? Because what I'm inclined to say is, are you sure it's my opinion you want, or do you want me to support you in this? The other one is, why is that important to get my opinion? That normally shuts them up for a while. Jody, did you start your crocheting? I know you've had a really busy week with appointments and medical stuff, but I just wondered, I've got you in here, so don't think you're going to get away with it. At least tell me the wool's out or something, the crochet needle is in the right place, or, start working on that one because you're on the hook for that one now. On the hook. Duh. Love the pun. All right. So I thought that you would like some news from me for a change. And the good news is when I took the car in to be fixed, which we'll be talking about next, but when I took the car in to be fixed, I realized it was in the shop. And so I said to them, listen, while you've got my car in there, could you check that connector thing that I need to plug my trailer in with? Into, you know what I mean? And they did, and apparently it was totally corroded. So I said, okay, replace it. By the way, that cost me 200 bucks. Hi, Kim. That cost me 200 bucks to replace it and get the work done on that to do it. So I thought you just mentioned it. Now, do any of you watch the program Lethal Weapon? I'm very angry. It was one of my go-to programs. They made a series after the movie, and I've been watching it, and they just fired the lead guy. I mean, how can you do that to me? It's just like, and it'll. I'm not sure if they're going to recast it or cancel the whole program, but I was really upset. I don't know about you, but I don't watch that much anymore. So when they actually have an issue with one of the ones that I watch, I take it very personally. Do any of you relate to it? So my next question, if any of you are suffering from leg cramps or restless leg syndrome, Um, I don't know if you remember, but when they were doing the sleep apnea test, they mentioned that I was also having a problem with restless leg, and I knew I was having a serious problem with leg cramps. And I just want to tell you that the specialist said to me, take calcium and magnesium. It's one tablet with the two of them mixed. I think they call it CalMed for short or something. But and I went, it's just an over the counter thing. It's not like a prescription thing. It's an over the counter thing. And quite honestly, I sort of went, okay. Well, I bought the stuff, and you know how I am. I didn't expect it to work, but it did. So if any of you are struggling with that, and presuming that it's okay for you to take calcium and magnesium with your other medications, check that out with your doctor. But I want to tell you something. My leg cramps have stopped, touch wood. My leg cramps have stopped. There's more wood there. And I think my restless leg has as well. So good news for me. Since you started this office job, you seem to be more achy all over. Sophie, you know why? You're using you're using different muscles that you haven't probably used as much. So one of the things that I did when I had an office type job, Sophie, was I made sure that I got up and walked, even if it was around the office. I made sure that I got up and walked at least once every couple of hours. And I would say literally for at least 100 steps or more. You know what I mean? To get my spine back in alignment because, I'm inclined to sit not too well, if you know that feeling. So I didn't know that Triona says CalMag is good for the nerves as well. How about that? Learned something new today, as usual. I seem to learn something new every day. So, does anybody want to? Sorry, that is so typically Sophie. Soph says, "Okay, I'll walk to the biscuit tin every couple of hours." Yeah, that's what I think, Alan. That I used to make sure that as I said, every hour or two, I would actually, and I actually would watch how many steps I took, and I'd try and get 100 steps in. If you did that 8 times a day, that would be 800 steps, right? If you did it 16 times a day, that would be a lot more, like 1600. So, yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, Kim is asking, has anyone ever gone to the dentist and they told you it's going to cost you a lot to get your teeth fixed? I've got that problem. It's going to cost me a fortune that I don't have. So, yep, I totally relate to that. So, what are you going to do about it is my question. What I decided to do about it um, was just understand that it is what it is. Yeah, it is scary. And, obviously, my mind went to a negative place and it's not fair and all the rest of that. But it is fair and it is what it is. Um, and that's one of the reasons I probably will be selling the house, is so I can have the money to do that sort of work. What choice do I have, right? Yes, I think I want to tell you, I've got a tooth that broke. And just to have that removed is over $1,000 Canadian. I think, close to two. Because I have to go. It is so, it's so badly broken that I have to go in and be put under so they can pull it. It's too much to do in a doctor's office. It's too complicated. Since when was I normal, right? I wondered if any of you had any feedback on that lazy, depressed, or ill subject that we had last week. Did any of you notice a difference in how you looked at it this week because of the work that we did last week? Yeah, go back to the UK and have it done. Yeah. The funny thing is, as good as the Canadian healthcare system is, it doesn't cover dental, unfortunately. By the way, I just wanted to make one comment, which is I am aware that sometimes we have people who ghost watch this. And, people who are watching this but don't necessarily acknowledge that they're here, if you get my drift. And I just wanted to welcome you. And if any of you have a subject you'd like me to talk about, please contact me at dearmamasal@gmail.com. And if it's a topic that I think that my viewers will enjoy, I will gladly add it or use it as a case study if you want to tell me a story. And I definitely won't mention your name unless you tell me it's okay to do so. So I thought I'd just throw that out there. And that's the same to anybody who's a viewer, of course. All right. So now then, we are sitting at 26:32, Jody, and let us get on with the story. What you're about to hear is what happened to me last Friday afternoon. And so what I wanted to do is just warn you that we're going to be talking about a lot of possible emotional triggers. In other words, although they might not have triggered me, they could trigger you. So what I would like to say to you is, if you're already upset, watch this from this point onwards when you're in a less vulnerable place. All right. And you do know that I'm not a medical professional or a therapist. The views that you're about to hear are my own and from the research that I've done. So please just be aware that when you hear me use these terms, it's just my experience of them. However, we're going to discuss various things that happened to me, and your job is to identify the things that would have triggered you. Fair enough? So I'm going to do the story in little bits, and then I'm going to check in see if anybody started to get upset with the story. Are you ready for this, people? And the reason that I want to do this is because you'll learn a lot about your triggers as we go along. So, first of all, I did the lunchtime broadcast last Friday, and I really felt that we'd done some good work. So you understand, I was feeling pretty good, right? And energized and raring to go. So I got in the car to quickly go and do some shopping between the two broadcasts. And when I did that, some of you might have seen that video, my display in my car was flashing. Where it normally tells me the time, it was doing something weird. Now, that's not normal. All right. So how many of you are already going, uh-oh? How many of you had a reaction just to hearing that bit? Now, I also need to tell you that because I was in such a good mood. Hi there, Kettle Chip. I'm also a Kettle Chip addict. Yeah, what I did is I sort of saw it and went, if any of you watched the video because I actually had it on tape, you watch me sort of go, what the, and then go, and then I talked about it, and then I said, hey, car's still running, everything's fine. So I went off to, yeah, it did look like a strobe light disco. You're quite right. Anyway, so then I went off to the dollar store. Now, I was very happy at the dollar store. Yeah, yay. And some of you might have seen that I had that wonderful moment where the the checkout person at the dollar store took one look at me and then smiled and gave me that look. It's a sort of look. And I know that look. It means that look means I know who you are. And then she said the words, I know who you are. And it was really cute. So we did a bit of selfie moments and we had fun. Yeah, so that's exactly what I want you to do, guys, is as I tell these bits of the story, I want you to feel the emotion with me. All right. So I went to the dollar store, got a lot of stuff that I wanted that made me very happy. I was full of energy still, and I went rushing off to the supermarket, which was next door. When I say next door, a couple of stores down. So I did all that, and so now I had my Jeep full of groceries and dollar store items. I think I had about 12 bags, maybe 16. Do you know what I mean? Because they were like all the bags from the dollar store and then the bags from the groceries thing. So you've all got that picture in your mind. Okay. Got into the car, and my car has got an immobilizer on it. So I have to be able to desensitize the immobilizer. So I get in the car, and without really thinking, because you do these things subconsciously, I took the fob thing and I ran it down where I need to run it down to get the car going. Nothing. You're meant to hear beep beep, and beep beep means that it connected, and there was nothing, no beep beep, and I'm thinking, And by the way, as I tell this story, if you've got any reaction to it, just put it up here. So, because what I'm trying to do is see at what point do different people get triggered. So I'm thinking, that's weird, but not a major issue. I must have done it wrong. Do any of you relate to that one? So I take the fob and I go, stop, again. Nothing. Now, I know somewhere in my mind, I think I used a short word and it wasn't necessarily polite because it was already close to 6 o'clock. Actually, it was 5:30. Then I realized that my cell phone battery was down to 25%. And then I took stock. I went, okay, fine. I've got a phone battery that's 25%. And then I've got two other things that are going through my mind. I've got two things I have to do. Number one, I need to cancel the broadcast at 7 o'clock because obviously, if this is a dead car, I've got to have time to get our equivalent of AAA, it's called BCAA here, to come and tow my car. All right. So I've got to cancel the broadcast because there's no way I'm going to be back home in time to do the broadcast. Plus, I need to call BCAA and I have 25% left on my phone battery. So my question to you, because this is all about interesting way that people do things, which would you do first? Yes, low phone battery, I agree with you, Triona, pushes the stress up slightly. But, I'm lucky that I lived a long time without a mobile phone, so that wasn't the end of my world, funny enough. So which would you do first? Would you phone for help or cancel the broadcast? And the stupid thing, Kerry, is I actually had a power pack with me. I carry a power pack. Yes, but I've got to do one first, organic kettle chip. Which one would you do first? Knowing you only had 25% left. Okay, so Jody's saying cancel the broadcast. Linda's saying get help first. All right, let's see if anybody else comes up. Get help first. That's 2 for get help. one for cancel the broadcast. Anybody else? Now, I want you to just take a moment and think, which was more important to me? To make sure you guys knew I wouldn't be able to broadcast or to fix my car? You're absolutely right, Jody. That's exactly where my mind went. All right? Cancel the broadcast. Yep. Letting you guys know that I wasn't going to be able to do the broadcast was the most important thing for me. And the stupid thing was, Jody's got it absolutely right. I knew that the rest of the world had cell phones, and almost anybody would let me make a call to BCAA. Not everybody would let me use their phone to do a live broadcast on Facebook. So what I did was I used the phone and quickly put up the note on Facebook, and that's why I always say to people, make sure that you have got me, that you're following me on Facebook, because in a situation like this, that's where I go first. So I did that, and knowing that I could use up the rest of my battery, but luckily I didn't. I still had enough to phone BCAA. I was very happy with myself for that. Okay. Now then, when I phoned BCAA, I explained what had happened, and I said, by the way, I've got an added problem. I've got a car full of groceries. And yes, whoever that was that said, hi, Sakura, how's the CrossFit going? So I said, I've got a car full of groceries. And as somebody mentioned earlier, did I have any frozen foods in there? I can't remember if they were frozen, but I did have produce that I didn't want to be in the sun for too long. So, so I explained this to BCA, and they asked, they know where I live. And by the way, I'm a VIP member with them. I've been a member for over 30 years, and I am a VIP member because not only do I have my car covered with them, I also have my trailer. So if I break down anywhere with my trailer, they will tow both of them, right? Not just my car, they'll also tow my trailer. Make sense? So, I'm an important person to them. I also have all my insurance with them in terms of certain things. So, they see me as an important person. Yes, gaining muscle will always create a little bit of extra weight. Sakura, glad that you know that. All right. And by the way, Cez is here, and if you don't know Cez, she helps me with John Semba. She's always with me when I'm doing the live broadcast. So that's who she is, Sakura, if you see her. And Sakura, yeah, you're gonna be feeling very sore for a little while yet until your muscles get used to it, used to the fact you're going to continue to do it, and they'll stop complaining. All right. Now then, let me get to the next bit. So the tow truck came pretty quickly. They sort of say it could take up to 90 minutes, which is why I knew I had to cancel the broadcast. But it actually came within half an hour. So how do you think my mood was? Well done, Sakura. She's definitely feeling the results of getting that cross training done. So how do you think I was feeling when the truck arrived sooner than I expected? Yeah, and I'd like to mention that if ever you're giving a commitment to somebody, um, make the time longer than you think it's going to take so that they are pleasantly surprised when you're earlier than that, if you know what I mean. Uh, I'm talking about in business. Mood lifted a bit. Absolutely. I was going, okay, fine. Everything's on track. This is good. So I know that because I've got a Jeep, they have to bring a flatbed, and they have to get it up on the flatbed. You can't run a Jeep just on its back wheels. Yes, Linda, that's interesting. You're wondering if I could still do the broadcast. I also started to wonder about that because I'd already canceled it. I suddenly realized, wow, I wasn't expecting them to get here this soon. I might still be able to do it. Okay. So we'll talk to that one. Linda, if I don't mention that later, get back to me on that one if you wouldn't mind. So I realized that it would take them a little while, take the guy a little while to load up my Jeep onto the flatbed, and that I also knew that I was in. Do you understand that when you go through something like this, your body goes into a level of shock? You know, Kerry knows what I'm talking about. You know, when she had the flat tires, right? Your body goes into um, fight or flight mode, right? The adrenaline starts pumping more because you're in a situation that's not normal. It's just, you can't help it. All right. It just happens. So I was thinking, okay, I've had a bit of a shock. I can sit here and wait. Maybe I'll just go and find a washroom. How many of you can understand this would be, oh, you had a blown tire, even worse, right? So you understand, I'm thinking best use of time, keep out of the guy's way, let him do his job, and I'll go and use the washroom. So I said, okay, fine, I'm going to leave you to do this. I just need to go to the washroom. I'll be back in a second. And I was really quick. I am one of the fastest washroom users that you will ever meet. So when I got back, he was just not quite finished, but nearly finished. So the timing was brilliant. And I got into the front of the truck because that's what I had to do. And he got in, and I smiled, that wonderful smile that, you know, irresistible as it is, and said, I actually live a couple of blocks away. And the BCA people said that I've got a Jeep full of groceries and I need to get it home. And so I wondered if you'd be good enough just to drop me off at home on your way, just, do a small scenic route past my house. Well, his reply to me was, you know that we're not a taxi service, right? I said, I beg your pardon. And he said, we're a towing company, not a taxi service. And yeah, but Triona, I agree that it was rude, all right? So you obviously are triggered. And a couple others. And the interesting thing was it touched me a little bit, and I took a deep breath because, you don't know what happened today. Maybe he's got a sick child, or maybe he's trying to get home to go to the movies or whatever. Seek first to understand. So what I did was I continued to smile. I didn't let my face change, right? I really worked hard at that. And I said, so what do you want me to do? You want to take me to, half an hour away, which is where my repair shop is, and leave me there with the groceries? Just so I understand. Because if that's what you don't want me to do, I would rather have you help me get the groceries out of my car and get the cab from here because I'm only a couple of blocks away. Makes sense. Now, so far, I was totally, I would say 90, no, let's be fair here, probably 85% okay. And do you notice that I gave him the decision, right? What is it you would want me to do? Do you want me to do that? Are you telling me that you won't take me home, or this is your decision to make? And I looked at him very expectantly, little old lady look, big smile, you know. And yeah, so actually he said, well, I just want you to understand it's not what we're meant to do. I said, I totally know it's not what you're meant to do. And I do appreciate it. So what is your you understand, I still kept making sure he made the decision. So I said, "So what is your decision?" How many of you need to learn that thing, which is don't make decisions for other people? I kept saying, "So what do you want me to do here?" Just so that I know. You see, when they make the decision, it's their decision, not mine. So, yeah, that's why we do these broadcasts. Trip. We do it so you can learn new words around things. You wait until the first time you use it. It's actually amazing how it works. So the guy actually didn't like that I did that. Can you imagine that? Well, you see, Linda, I wasn't going to get very far getting as snippy as he was, right? It wasn't going to help the situation. It would just be war. And how many of you know I could have cut him off at the knees with a one-liner? But I decided what I wanted to do was get home. Yeah, you did. There's always the replay, so you can catch up on what happened. It's like reverse psychology. Okay, fine. So you got the idea. So then he just sat there and looked at me for a little while. But then he said, "Well, okay." So, okay, fine. Thank you. So, how kind of you, stroke, stroke, stroke. So, with that, I'm happy again. How many of you going? I'm busy looking at the time. Who knows? I might even um I might even have everything back on track. So I'm actually getting quite excited again. The little kid in me is going, yay. So he drives, I think it's 4 blocks, to be quite honest. It was 4 blocks. He drives 4 blocks to my home. So then um you all know what a flatbed is, right? It's a truck that has a flatbed that can angle, and then they roll the car up and down it. You all know what I'm talking about? It's very important that you understand this principle right now. Okay. Well, Sophie, my experience with the tow companies here in British Columbia is if you live within a couple of blocks, they normally gladly take you home. So that's my experience, all right? So I understand that, and that's what I said to him. I totally understand you're a towing company. There's a lot more to this story, so hang on a second. So anyway, we get to my house and he's having a little mutter with me on the way to my house about, well, it means I've got to pull the car back down and da 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 da. He wasn't happy. So I didn't get sucked in, I could hear the sound, but I didn't get sucked in. So I just said, yeah, I understand. I just said, yes, I understand. I really appreciate the fact that you're helping. So we get to my house and he puts the bed up like this and rolls the bed down. So now this is the angle that my car is at. Do you all get this picture? My car is sitting on top at this angle. Okay, got it? And this is the road here, and this is my car. So now then, what do you expect the guy to do next? I mean, in a perfect world, we live in Disneyland. What would you like him to do? Allowing for the fact that I am 70. Yeah, I don't know why I was totally amazed. I don't know why I expected he would help me get the groceries out of my car. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what every guy's mother has taught them, right? Yeah, and if it's Disneyland, he should be singing and dancing and so happy to help me. Yeah, right, didn't happen. He literally stood there like this and looked at me. You know what I mean? He just looked at me. It's like, "Okay, get your groceries." Now, I have to admit, at this point, he started to get control of me. Do you understand? Now I'm beginning to get a little. Yeah, you see, but this is the point, Sakura, that I want to talk about. You see, we all know that what age was he? I would think in his early 30s. Well, that's not always the case, though. I mean, I'm obviously, you understand the situation. This is not about he's trying to rob me or whatever. This is about, so now at 70, I climb up onto this angled ramp and I'm thinking, I don't even know if I'm insured to be standing on here. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I wonder if they're insured to have me stand on a ramp. By the way, there is nothing behind me to stop me from falling off the side of this angled flatbed. And I'm a little bit scared. Can any of you relate to that? Just a tad. I wasn't a lot scared because we know I'm pretty okay. Yeah, I had to climb on the flatbed that was partially on the flatbed and the bottom of it was on the road. So yes, that's what I was thinking, Triona. Funny you should say that. Triona's saying that, my gosh, his mum would be your age. You know what I was thinking? I have to. No, he didn't roll the car off. He just rolled the bed down, Nicola. And welcome, by the way. So anyway, what I did was inside, I mean, you know that I'm quite a nice person most days, but I have a bitch from hell inside me. My bitch from hell was trying to get out. And I remember thinking, how many of you relate to this? Oh, your mommy would be real proud to watch you right now, young man. I don't know why I thought that. But and it wasn't nice the way I was saying it either. I'd love to tell you otherwise. So so now I'm busy. You've got this situation that my Jeep is wide. It's a big Jeep. My Jeep is wide. It takes up nearly the whole flatbed. I'm trying to walk on a little bit of space like this and then grab inside the back of my car and pull out groceries and twist and turn. Oh, that was the first thing. I twisted and turned with the first load of bags. And I don't know why. I thought he would take the bags from me. I was in Disneyland. And Sophia, happy to do it, No, he was not Prince Charming, I can tell you that. He just literally stood there like, hurry up, lady. Look. So now I'm in the back of the car, pulling out grocery bags, twisting, trying to turn around in a small space, trying to turn around, walk down off the a flatbed that's at an angle, and then put my groceries down, go back up the flatbed, go back in. All right, so you've all got the story. Now, my biggest problem was I had some bags in the front. So now I had to literally sort of half crawl into the back seat and then get to the front seat. How many of you, I think some of you know I've got a back that isn't too good. So, this was not easy for me. And then it came to the very last stuff. I don't know how you pack your car, but I always put my heaviest stuff right behind the driver's seat in my car, right? I put them right behind the driver's seat. So the last bags that I had left were the ones that were the heaviest. So I picked those up and I started to turn. And I have to tell you that for a split second, I didn't feel safe. I thought that that the angle was all wrong and I wasn't properly balanced to be taking that sort of weight and twisting. And you can probably hear me now. And then I decided, no, that's enough. That is enough. The boundary came for me at that point. And I looked at him, and that other voice that you all know, for those of you who've seen my Bitch from Hell come out, and some of you have, I looked at him and I said, "Sir, I wonder whether you could do good enough just to help me with these 2 bags. I don't want to fall, and I'm at risk of doing so at this moment. And I'm not sure if you're covered for that to happen." Thank you. So, how many of you can feel the emotion of what happened to me? So now he did actually take the last 2 bags. Yeah, Nicola, I realized that calling him names and things, wasn't gonna be helping a whole lot. So I now close my Jeep door and I go back off. I have now got, I want you to see the visual here. I have now got 16 or 20 bags of grocery type stuff on the sidewalk at the bottom of my driveway. And Disneyland people, I know you were going to hope that he got smart then and helped me get them to my house. He didn't. He didn't do anything. He didn't say, "Up yours," or "I'm leaving now," or "Goodbye," or anything. He just, as soon as I touched my feet to the floor, to the ground, he went and leveled off, pulled the Jeep back on top and leveled the flatbed and got in and drove away. Yes, Nicola, I did try very hard. You see, here's what I believe, Nicola. Here's what I believe, right? If I lost my temper, he gets control of me. But I have a story to tell you guys. I've got more to the story, by the way, but before I do, Nicola, I want to tell you a story that happened to me once. I really have to tell you this happened, and it taught me so much. I was I used to be, as some of you know, I used to be a professional speaker, and I was on my way to speak somewhere, and a flight got canceled. And when when people have had you booked for a year and you don't get there, that's not a good thing. You don't get paid, and generally people get very upset. So you understand that's a big trauma for me. So never mind that. But the guy in front of me absolutely went insane at the poor check-in, the person at the ticket person. He just used words on him like you cannot imagine, and he just, he was so rude to him. And I'm sitting there going, "Wow, way not to get any help, person." Because, it's not the check-in person's fault that the flight got canceled. Do you all agree with me? It is it's not their fault. So what happened was when the man eventually left and I walked up, being who I am, I said, "I'm so sorry you had to go through that. You'll be pleased to hear I know it's not your fault. And I just want to apologize because I'm Canadian. I just want to apologize for how rude that person was to you." And he looked at me and he was smiling from ear to ear, and I didn't get it at all. And he said, I know, he thought he had power, right? He was some sort of CEO and he thought he had power. And I went, "Yeah, he probably did, yeah." And he said, "He he will understand what power is today." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "He's going to Dallas. I just checked his bags to Hong Kong. That is power." So, I've always I know. I I've always kept that power thing in my mind. Yeah, I knew you guys would like that one. I But, I've always kept that power thing in my mind, right? That that power is not where you think it is. Um, it's like you have to be aware. So, do you understand that getting angry with him wasn't gonna fix anything for me? Do you agree with that? Can you see my logic? Because the guy is bad-mannered, and he is I if he had said to me, "Hey, normally I'd love to do this, but I got tickets to go and see Elton John tonight," or, whoever, "and if I take you home, I'm not gonna be able to pick up my wife and go," what would I have said? "Not a problem, let me call the cab." You know, I because that's not punishing me for your stuff, right? But he didn't. He made the decision to take me home, and he did deliver on that. You gotta give him credit for that. He did deliver on what he said he would do. He didn't say, "I will take you home and help you get the bags out of the Jeep." So, I want to just give you a quote from a very well-known, um, philosopher. Are you ready for this? We're not finished with the story yet, but while I'm getting ready to give you the rest of the story, I want to give you this quote. The quote is, "My thoughts and my emotions are my own. I need to deal with them and own them." Do you agree? Okay. So if I start to lose my temper and if I start to put toilet water in the kettle, yeah. If I do stuff like that, then I'm lowering myself to his level. Remember what the Obama said, when people go low, go high. All right, so I'll give it to you again, Chip. My thoughts and emotions are my own. I need to own them and I need to deal with them. By the way, the famous philosopher was called Dear Mama Sal. So, yeah, so this is the thing. I did not want to lower myself to his level, right? Why would I do that? It would ruin my day how many of you know when you get angry, does it affect your day? When you get snippy with people, that you feel, "Oh, that was good," "Ho, ho, ho, ho," or do you think, "Darn." Yes, absolutely, Kim. So what I did was, how many of you feel that I was abused? So I know a lot of you have said it was bad manner. Do any of you feel I was abused? I want to know where your reactions were heaviest. Yes, Linda's. Linda's saying, I'd be thinking, who else is he treating like that? Good point. So, what I want to give you a part of this story that you don't know, and it's very important. The tow company that we're talking about was started by those of you who know Yvonne, who's been my tenant for nearly 20 years. Her daddy started this tow company. So, do you think I know an awful lot about the level of service? All right. Do you think I know an awful lot? I want to tell you 99%, I've used them for 20 years. Whenever I've had a problem, I've always made sure that they tow my car because they're always so good to me. I want to tell you, every other driver that I've ever known from there not only wouldn't have let me even touch those bags, he probably would have taken them inside my house for me. Do you know what I mean? That's the sort of level of service, and done it with a good heart. So I knew this was not normal for the tow company. I knew I was dealing with an idiot. My judgment. But maybe I was dealing with somebody who had a reason, but he never talked about it. So, do you understand it's important if you're having a snippy day that you let people know so they understand your snippy behavior? If you don't let people know that you're having a bad day, your snippy behavior can seem incredibly rude. But if people know, look, I'm really sorry, but I had to have 3 teeth pulled this morning, so I might sound a bit strange, then they have compassion for you. Does that make sense? So I go back to my quote about my thoughts and emotions are my own. I was thinking a lot of things by this stage, as you can probably imagine. But I came inside. No, I was about to start moving the bags when Yvonne, whose papa used to own the tow company, comes out and goes, "You need help." And I said, "You think?" Meanwhile, the guy drove off. And she said, "He didn't even help you get those to the door." I said, "You haven't heard half the story yet, Bonnie." So anyway, Yvonne helps me get the bags into my house. And then I looked at her and I said, "I need a hug. Thank you so much for helping me, but I need a hug." Hi, Jonas. Welcome. You missed an interesting story, so you might want to catch up on this later. And so, how many of you can relate to that? That I had been through a lot of emotional stuff and I needed a hug. And when she gave it to me, I started to cry. And she said, "Wow, Sal, what happened?" And I told her. And she said, "What are you going to do?" All right, because that's what an adult says. All right. An adult doesn't try and fix it. An adult says, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I was thinking I should phone the company and let them know that this guy did this to our client." And she said, "Actually, no, I would recommend that you phone BCAA and let them know." I said, "I can't do that, Bonnie. I know how many awards your company, the company that your daddy started, has had over the years. They were like rated #1 for, as I think, just about the whole time that he owned the company. He was so particular about customer service." And I said, I'd hate to do that. So I'd rather speak to the owner, the new owner. And she said, "No, you phone the supplier to you." The supplier to you was BCAA, not the tow company. The tow company supplied BCAA. Do you understand what they're saying here? Okay. My contract is with BCAA. Their contract is with the tow company. They're the middleman. So the complaint needed to go here. So I said, well, I don't like to do it. But I think you guys have heard me say this before. I knew I shouldn't do it when I was that emotional because I'd probably cry. So I went and made a cup of coffee and unpacked my groceries and got a little bit settled. And then I made the call. And I explained everything. And I started off by saying to them, how long have I been a client? Can you see that? And the person who I'm speaking to looks and says, wow, a long time. You're a VIP client. And I said, yes, I am. I said, can you see how many times I've ever complained in all that time? And she said, actually, no. And I said, well, let me tell you, it's never. In fact, I'm inclined to do the opposite. I'm the person who, when I get good service, makes a point of phoning the CEO and saying, do you know that your teller on number 3 did an awesome job today? That's who I am. Okay. I don't go looking to complain. I look for reasons to congratulate people. However, 2 days later, somebody higher up the food chain at BCAA phoned me. I guess they were waiting, to let me calm down a bit, and then phoned me to get the story again. Now that triggered me a little bit. How many of you would agree with me? I've already told the story once, but now they want it again. So I took a deep breath and going, yep, okay, that's their system. So I told the story again, and I have to admit that I said, I need to explain who lives in my house. I need to explain I know about the awards this company has had. I need to explain I did not want to make this call. But I am making it because I believe I was put at risk. I am absolutely convinced that he was not insured to have me on an angled flatbed with nothing behind me in case I overbalanced. And I said, if I were 20, it would be serious. But the fact that I'm 70 makes it unforgivable. It was an accident waiting to happen. What if there had been oil on the bed? What if, and I said, that there are a lot of what ifs, but I know it's not right. And because I know it's not right, I have to make the call, even though I don't want to get this company a bad mark. I have to make the call. Because I could be saving somebody's life. Does that make sense? So, is it possible that this guy could get fired for what happened? Do I need to feel guilty about that? Will he blame me? Will he blame me for whatever repercussions happen? Whether he gets reprimanded, whether he gets whatever, will I be the bad person in his mind? Is that human nature? Yes, Linda, I have no reason to feel guilty, but just a little bit I was concerned. I didn't really want to get him into trouble. I wanted to understand why he did it. Yes, it's beyond my control, all right? From this point, it is not my responsibility anymore. Yes, and Sakura, here is the big question, and the reason that I wanted to tell this story is how many of you could feel the triggers along the way? How many of you got triggered by him being rude? Okay. How many of you got triggered because of the lack of customer service? All right. I want you to look at where you got triggered. How many of you noticed I was totally under control until he did something that I felt was putting my life at risk? See, I was absolutely under control until that happened. Now, is Sarah with us? Sorry, I've got to look to see if. Just hold on a second. No. Okay, so um, I think it was Sarah that wanted me to talk a little bit about inner child. Yes, so that's what I wanted you to feel. I wanted you to feel where would you have reacted, and that's why I wanted to talk through it so that you could experience it. So when it next happens to you, keep control. Remember, my thoughts and my emotions are my own. I need to own them and deal with them. And that is why the first time I actually reacted was when my life was potentially in danger. How many of you can tell by that I am a survivor? Right? I'll put up with a lot of the brown sticky stuff, but you put my life at risk? No. And I want you to see that we each have our own level of where the it comes down. Now, some of you would have got angry very much earlier on. All right. And that's your stuff, right? And that's due to your lack of compassion or understanding or whatever, or the fact that you just think, you deserve to be treated better from the get-go. You know where your stuff is. I know that in my lifetime, I have opened my mouth and said what I really thought way before I should have done. Do any of you relate to that? And I just noticed that Jodi's saying that if you find value in the broadcast, help me cover the cost of being a broadcaster by making a donation. If you're watching this on the replay, you can go to dearmamasal.com and donate there, just in case any of you want to know that. The other thing I wanted to say was, did you know that if you use Amazon, that if you go in via any of my links, you don't have to buy anything that I've got there. But if you go in via one of my links, you help me. Did you know that? Cost you nothing, but it helps give me a couple of dollars that will help towards the cost of doing what I do. I just thought I'd mention that. All right. So the whole issue here is, do you understand? No, I'm trying to get the global one sorted out, Sophie. I will work on that. Not at the moment, no. So, do you understand why I needed to tell this story? All right. I wanted to tell the story because I believe that in it are enough different triggers. For those of you who have manners as your trigger, you know who you are. You were taught really good manners. So, therefore, when bad manners happen, you get triggered. But what if he didn't have that training? Yeah, it's through a wish list. That's correct, Kim. Actually, you can just go at the bottom of any of my videos. If you look at the notes below any of my videos, I don't think they show up on a mobile, but they do show up on, a PC or whatever. Yes, I get triggered by bad manners as well. So that's when I did react internally, but I chose not to open my mouth about it, right? I just had to give him, I didn't know what sort of day it had. Maybe the wife just crashed the car. Maybe his wife just went into labor. There could be so many reasons why he was being snippy. And I decided to ignore that, right? That was my choice because my emotions are my responsibility. And so then I want you to see that depending on what your stuff is where you will get triggered. Oh, they do show on your phone. Okay, they do. Okay, Jody's the expert. He works with a company that really trains customer service inside out and back to front. All right, but it wasn't just bad manners. Do you understand that? It was bad customer service, and then it ended up being risky behaviors that put the company at risk. Because if anything had happened to me, I was actually not on my property, I was on the road. All right? So I wanted to make sure that you all, but thanks for the info, Kim. I appreciate that. Um, what I wanted you to do is to feel it. Because how many of you can see that you can react differently if you choose to? And you can let the little stuff go every now and then, all right? Not everything needs to be a war. Some people just, I try to think of it, I try to have the compassion to realize not everybody was taught the good manners that I was. I try to remember not everybody has the benefit of, I got a good education. I never got to go to university because that wasn't a given in my day. But I got a really good education and I'm a lifelong learner. So I try to remember not everybody knows what I know. All right. Which is why I started Dear Mama Cell. I wanted to be able to share complicated stuff in a way that people would understand. Now, I could have given you the psychology of all this in very long words. Very long words and made myself sound very clever. But I would not have been able to teach what I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach you that this is your choice, how you deal with these things. It's not their fault. All right. Was it his fault that he was snippy? Yes. You are only responsible for your behavior, not his. How many times have you guys heard me say that? I was not responsible for his behavior. He was. I was responsible for mine. And right up until the end, the only time I actually did anything that was slightly snippy. Good question, Linda. Yes. Linda's asking, I got home, funny enough, about 10 to 7. Now, Kerry and anybody else that's been through drama, do you understand this was a traumatic event for me? Right? Can any of you see that? It wasn't just a little bit upsetting, it actually became traumatic. So if I have just experienced a trauma, Kerry, what do we know happens when we've been through trauma? What happens to your chemistry inside your body? Now, Kerry's an expert because she's been through a lot of this stuff recently. So, what happens to the body when you have a tire blowout on you? What happens? You turn into a mad monster, but that's because you haven't been with us quite as long, Beth. You're going to change that if you keep staying with us. Yes, Jody, the adrenaline skyrockets. There you go, Kerry. All right. And because it's fight or flight, Kim, your body automatically pushes in adrenaline. And that keeps you, that's survival stuff. Does that make sense, people? All right. That's because your body knows how to survive. By the way, if any of you have ever been, and you don't have to say yes to this, but if any of you have ever been through abuse of any sort, you know what I'm talking about. You know, there is this sort of rush of adrenaline and then you go numb. All right. So you know what this feels like. So I knew that I was pumping adrenaline. And as Kerry so rightly said just now, it is this crash that comes after it that is really so difficult, right? As soon as the adrenaline stops pumping because the danger has gone, now you start coming down off this adrenaline rush. And then what happens is you are, I don't know if this makes sense, Kerry, but that's when you're in child, you're not in adult. That's when the child needs to cry. That's when the child relives trauma. Am I making sense to anybody? I was, yeah. And what I want people to understand is this isn't because you're stupid or weak or whatever. It's because that is what happens. Yes, Kerry. And not only did your inner child cry a lot, but you know something? Your adult got angry, Kerry, in your case, because you got abused. You tried to protect yourself and the person ignored it. Really, Ireland, if you want to write that story, we could use it as another case study. Yeah, because I think that's another typical case study of and then if you could take the time, and we know you're a writer, if you could take the time when you're in a good place to write down, try not to relive it too much, but give me the facts around it. I can build a case study around that. If any of you got any stories like this, all right, because how many of you have been helped just by seeing this story unfold and bit by bit feel the triggers? You see, that's what I want you to do. It's sometimes you don't want to feel your own, but you can sure feel mine. Oh, by the way, yes, and Kerry, in doing the work that you've done in the last couple of weeks or whatever time it is, you will have built stronger boundaries. You understand that you're not going to let anybody do that to you again, or you've got a bit more practice. So the next person that tries it, your red flag's gonna go up a lot earlier. As soon as you hear that sound, you're gonna go, "No, this doesn't work." Beth, I want to know whether you definitely want the rest of the world to know that piece of information because, my filter is saying, "Do we want to show that or not?" So I need you to confirm that it's okay for the rest of I don't know who's watching. Are you sure? Okay. So and on the replay, it won't be showing. So in hindsight, would I have dealt with it any differently? That's a very, very good question. Um, let me ask you guys, how could I have handled it better? As was I, Beth. Um, how how could I have handled it better? I'm not going to talk about this because of the replay. Um, I'm talking about the conversation that's going on in front of me. So, can anybody see where I could have handled it in a better way? I th- believe, I believe when I started to get resentful, right? When I could feel that resentment, that to me, yeah, I think the moment I said your mum, in my mind, when I said your mum would be really proud to see this young man, that's what I said in my head. That's when I should have opened my mouth and said, wow, I bet your mommy would be really proud of you right now. Now, that would have been rude. Yes, I agree with everybody. Yep, I quite agree. That's when I should have said, I need help with this. I'd like to remind you, I should have got off the flatbed and said, I'm sorry, but I don't think that you're insured to have me on that flatbed. So, but how many of you know and you just feel it inside yourself that you would have let rip at the wrong time? All right? Before you ever had a chance to, maybe he made a mistake. Maybe he had something else on his mind and for a second he just was snippy. You know, some people here are saying that when they get triggered they start to swear. Now, I still swear inside, to be fair. As you know, I'm not a perfect person, but I have learned to control it to some degree. I do realize that is not my stuff, it's their stuff. Now, how many of you know that I could have triggered him? So let's be compassionate for a second. All right. Before we close this off, let's be compassionate. Let's look at it from his side. Let's say that he got the call to do this trip and they said to him, well, I know you're meant to go off shift at this time, but it's just a quick run. It'll only take you 20 minutes. Yes, very good point. Linda's saying, when I start swearing, I know I've lost control. That is such a good thing to know. Yeah. I give myself to think what I like. It's just be careful what you say. But you see, Beth, let me tell you something that the regular viewers here know, all right? That whenever we say that he should have done something, that is a judgment, okay? Whenever people say should, have to, ought, whatever, that's a judgment. The truth is, it would have been preferable if he had done it. Exactly, Linda. Linda's saying even if I triggered him, the flatbed bit wasn't. That was the stop mark. That was the boundary. So here is the thing that I wanted to say to you. Let's think of it from his side. Is it possible that they had said that to him? It's a quick run. Just quickly go, take the car. And then he found out it was going to take him longer. He'd agreed to it because he thought it was going to take 20 minutes. And suddenly it was going to take half an hour. That to me made sense. That's why I didn't react. Um, so all the time I kept trying to be in my mind, I kept trying to see both sides of the story. How many of you have learnt that one now? You're doing it better, that you try and make sure that you understand both sides of the story. Now, maybe at the get-go, I could have said to him, hey, I can hear you're just a little snippy on this one. So did I do something here, or are you just upset because it's going to take a bit longer? Could I have stated the obvious? And if I'd done it the right way, maybe he would have told me the truth. Yeah, and it's sort of like I want to tell you at 70, I still open doors for people younger than myself who are carrying groceries or are doing whatever. Yes, I think that he did need a reality check about the business he is in. And I actually am pretty sure that Yvonne never told her daddy the story. Why would Yvonne not tell her father the story about what had happened with his company that he used to own? Yeah, Linda says, "I'm amazed Sal's smile and charm didn't work." Not half as amazed as Sal was. Yes, exactly. Why would we put him through that amount of stress and heartbreak? Because it was his pride and joy. Good. I'm glad you guys can see that. And it isn't his company, and he hasn't had it for 15 years. But it still is his company, right? It's a bit like your children. They might have grown up, but they're still your children. And I don't care how much, yes, tarnished his legacy. Beautifully worded, yeah. So I don't think that this sort of thing is necessarily about age. I think it is about understanding. And the reason that I was prepared to give you my vulnerability in this is because I really honestly believed that this story would help some of you understand triggers better. How many of you are really beginning to understand what they are now? It's a pleasure, Nicola. So it is an unconscious reaction, all right? Because did I consciously, I was under control until this one trigger hit me that I haven't learned to control yet, all right? And it comes up unconsciously. And this one was quite honestly linked to being abused. Somebody put my life at risk and shouldn't have done. That is abusive to me. So I don't take that lightly. I can put my own life at risk. That's my business. Yes, Linda. And that was part of what I wanted to try and get across, that some of you are going to see that you get triggered a little bit too early. Yes, it's really important. So let's go back to that famous quote. My thoughts and my emotions are my own. All right. I need to own them and deal with them. Now, you've heard Kerry say that she really has been, through a difficult week because she got seriously sucked in by a situation. And then the inner child started beating up on her. All right. Because that's what happens. How many of you know that afterwards, if you get triggered, then you feel, you get feel guilty, right? And it's like, I realize that the moment that I get triggered, I give him power. So one of the things so many people have asked me is, how can I do these broadcasts every week? How can I possibly hear, the stories that I hear, read the emails that I read from people and not get involved, emotionally? And the reason is it's not my stuff. You guys are not writing to me because you want me to get involved. You guys are writing because you want to know how to handle this, all right? And my whole reason for being here was not to be perfect. My whole reason for being here was to try and unhelp. So, I think that's very how many of you relate to that? How many of you relate to when the kids talk back, it triggers me? Yes, I have to do that, Sakura. I have to keep my, objectivity, all right? Because if I buy into your emotion, I'm not gonna be able to help you. I'm not here to be sympathetic necessarily. I'm here to do what I can to help you cope. There's a difference, isn't there? Well done, Kerry. Do you understand the difference? The difference is it's not my job to be your best friend. Although, that's not how I see what we do here. What I believe we do here is hopefully help people understand what is driving them into the drama. Beth, your word, right? How many things that you do every day is creating your own drama? And how many of you would prefer a little bit of serenity? See, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for how do I make my life less stressful, not more stressful? I realize now that I live the drama. Oh, Beth, I want to tell you something. I relate to so many of the comments you have made about the drama side. And Kerry, I'm sure, relates to a lot of them as well. You know, that, and it's so important to realize that we allow people to yank our chains. We give them permission to press our buttons, but how we deal with that is our responsibility. So do you understand that nobody makes you sad, right? You may feel sad when you hear this story. Nobody makes you happy. You may be happy when you do certain things. All right? So when you can see that reality, your life changes. It becomes more realistic. So if somebody insults me, I don't have to react. All right. If I do react, then they got to me. The arrow's stuck in my head. Normally, if somebody insults me, which has happened to me in my time. How many of you have watched me here on live broadcasts when people have been really rude to me? And it's just like, I try very hard just to let it roll off my back because this is somebody that I can't, doesn't necessarily want my help. So why would I waste time with it? Yeah, you know something, Chip? I realized a long time ago that I wish I'd been taught it as well, and that's why I do what I do. Um, you know, that's what I kept saying to myself that for any of you who have read Jonathan Livingston Seagull or seen it, I always remember I always remember thinking maybe there's another gull out there that wants to fly, maybe somebody else wants to understand this stuff, but maybe can't afford what it takes to go to therapy. Um, yes, they're not my words, Triona. They come from Terry Cole Whitaker. What you think of me is none of my business. Boy, if you can learn that lesson and own it, it's amazing the freedom you get. I've had to cut certain family members out of my life as well, Kim. So I totally relate to that. I want to tell you the greatest freedom, Linda, is when you can be honest. I want to tell you that I don't think I've ever regretted cutting people out of my life. No, that's not true. No, I gotta be perfectly honest on if I'm feeling a little bit lonely, I'm sorry for letting some of them go. Do any of you relate to that? And by the way, is loneliness an emotion? Now, some of you've heard me quote, yeah, exactly. Some of you, and I want to make sure that you all get this before we close this one. Some of you heard me quote Dr. Jerry Jampolsky, and he wrote a book called Love is Letting Go of Fear. All right. When I no longer have any fear, I am in a place of love. But what he said is that there are actually only two emotions. Listen to this one: love and fear. Those are the only two emotions. And every other emotion is a derivative. It's a subsect, if you like, of those two. So this is my question to you. And just take a deep breath because some of you are going to want to argue with me on this one, and that's okay because it's just my thinking. Are you ready? Deep breath. If you think happy thoughts, will you be happy? And if you constantly think negative thoughts, will you constantly be unhappy? So, yeah. And I know that a lot of you are saying, well, Pollyanna thinking doesn't help anybody. But I want to tell you, when you realize that you are having negative thoughts about people or things or situations, how many of you pray for God to fix your problem? That's not God's job. And just in case you don't know that, I just thought I'd mention that. I actually don't know if it makes sense when I pray, for example, with my trailer. When my trailer didn't work, I had every reason um, to be really upset, but I just went, oh, it is what it is. Okay. And then I kept thinking, how much money is this going to cost me to fix it? And so now what I pray for is a solution. If you happen to have one that I haven't thought of, I'd be interested. But I need the wisdom to be patient because I'm a great believer that if and how many of you can relate that when my trailer wasn't working and I hit the problem with people didn't want to let me in to a trailer park because my trailer was more than 10 years old, I started to wonder, should I keep the trailer? Can you believe that? Is that, but do you understand that's negative thinking? But I didn't hate them for that. It's their right to have their own rules. And then as I gave myself a bit of time to calm the emotion down, I went, but there's still places that will take an older trailer. So then I had to ask myself, honestly, Sal, if you could get the trailer on the road again, would you like to do it? All right. And the answer was yes. And so then I thought, well, okay, I'm going to pray for an answer that I haven't got right now. And guess what? This is the whole thing about the story. Are you ready to smile, people? This is a really big circle that I've come around. But you see, if the Jeep hadn't broken down, it wouldn't have ended up in the shop. And if it hadn't ended up in the shop, I wouldn't have been able to say, by the way, the problem with the Jeep was that uh, that the battery connection was loose. And by the way, the tow truck guy should have seen that, but he didn't. So we won't worry about that. But what happened was life had a way of fixing my problem. Life had a way of sending the Jeep to the shop. And whilst it was in the shop, I found out fixing it wasn't going to cost me anything because my battery is under a full warranty for any parts and labor for 2 years. Yay, paid a bit extra, but guess what? It helps when things go wrong. But now, whilst you've got the Jeep there, could you check that connection for me? How many of you are smiling now? And by the way, when I got it back, how many of you know I was a little scared to plug it in to the trailer? Can any of you relate to that? All right. There was part of me that was a little scared to plug it in. Maybe I will blow something again, or maybe it won't work. And now I've got the problem of getting the trailer. And then I went, let's deal with maybe it will work. And I literally backed the Jeep up to the trailer. And by the way, the new connection is really nice and shiny and properly installed, which the other one wasn't. And I plugged it in and I turned the indicator on and went all the way around my Jeep and to the back of my trailer. And it was flashing at the back of my trailer. So my thoughts and my emotions are my own. Could we agree we're going to stop blaming other people for what we think? All right? Let's stop blaming other people for our thoughts and our reactions. Do we agree? Yeah. Chip, I love the honesty of that. Because what we think is our stuff, not theirs. Remember, I said that when I was going to the specialist, all right, that I'd had a bad experience with him last time, but what I think is my responsibility, not his. So let's keep working. By the way, do you have to be perfect? No, this is a work in progress. That's what we do here. So as I leave you here, how many of you thought this was 2 hours worth spending? How many of you have felt that you've gained some knowledge here? I think one of the greatest challenges I have every week one of the great challenges I have every week is I know what I want to talk about. But what I want to do is to find a way I can tell the story that will make sense to just about everybody. Absolutely, Sakura. Write to me at dearmamasal@gmail.com. No problem. So how many of you are going to remember where Power is? He's going to Dallas. I just checked his bags to Hong Kong. And if any of you have got a story that you think, has a lot of triggers in it, please send it to me so that I can read it and then I can sort of work out how I'm going to tell the story that will help people. And it's the same thing. For those of you who lose your temper in a car, Really. Really. Now, here's the thing for everybody who loves the story about Power. Do I really think he checked the guy's bags to Hong Kong? No, I actually don't. But I think what he did was he made the point. And I loved it, and I've been, I've loved the story ever since because it really did tell me where the power was. So to me, just be aware and own your own stuff, right? I think it was one of the most difficult lessons I had to learn, and I'm still not brilliant at it, but I'm getting better. I'm learning to let go of some control, right? I realize I cannot control other people. Boy, I tried for so much of my life. I realize that drama is a self inflicted wound. I create my own drama. And so hopefully this will make a difference in your week. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you for your time. I realize that it takes you time to sit and listen to this stuff. But the fact that it helps makes it worth the time that I take to put it together. I never said if I did broadcast. No, sorry. Thank you, Linda, for putting a wrap on that one. No, Linda, I realized my adrenaline was way too high and that my reactions therefore might be too not honest. Do you know what I mean? Or I would have been too emotional. I would have, even telling the story today, a week later, I still felt the emotion. So I was scared because I realized that my emotion effects can affect other people. It can trigger people. I don't mean it to, but it can. How many of you get upset when you see I'm close to tears? Right? Did I make you cry? No. You made you cry because you love me, and I thank you for that. um, and that's really right. Own your own thoughts, please. All right, everybody. Big hugs. Love you dearly. Thank you, and we will see some of you later tonight. What am I talking about tonight? Hang on. Does anybody know? I know somewhere. Oh well, check in tonight. I think we're also doing more about emotions. And then, by the way, on Sunday we're going to. Oh no, yeah, Sunday we're doing reuse and recycle. Yeah, we're doing that on Sunday. We're going to be talking. So keep lists, people. Oh, that's what we're doing tonight. Thank you, God. We're doing um, overwhelm tonight, and on Sunday we're doing recycle and reuse. So if you recycle anything or reuse anything, make some notes so that we can give lots of ideas to people. Make sense? Yes, YouTube tonight at 7 o'clock Pacific time. Where are you, Chip? Which time zone? And if you can't make it, that's why we have it on the replay. I'm out of here. Seriously, I've got things to do. All right, people. Oh, you poor thing being in Baja. Oh, somebody's got to do it, right? All right, everybody. Have a super afternoon. I'll see some of you in a few hours. In the meantime, this is Dear Mama Sal saying, remember to look after one another, but most of all, please, please, please look after yourself. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, bye-bye for now, if I can find the right buttons.